Under conditions of complexity, not only are checklists a help, they are required for success. Atul Gawande. You might find it strange an entire book is dedicated to a simple idea like a checklist. Yet that is exactly what Atul Gawande did with the Checklist Manifesto. Early in this book, you realize just how important checklists are in many very crucial situations, and how some of the best trained individuals in the world rely on them on a daily basis. See, humans aren't good at dealing with complexity. In our normal day-to-day routine, it's hard enough. Think of how often you forget something on your way to work, or you get home from the grocery store just to realize you didn't pick up a key ingredient to dinner that night. It's even harder when we are trying to complete complicated tasks with many steps, and even worse if we are doing something in a stressful situation. Gawande comes from a medical background. For much of his career, he was an endocrine surgeon and saw firsthand the power of checklists in the operating room. He has gone on to lead several medical organizations to create detailed surgical checklists to improve health outcomes for patients and reduce the risk of infections and other issues that are common with surgery. His work has made waves in the medical field, and he helped draft a simple surgical checklist that the World Health Organization has adopted and many countries use today, one that some have called the most significant clinical invention in years. In 2006, Michigan ICUs instituted what they called the Keystone Initiative. A major component of the initiative was centered around a checklist for standard ICU cases. In the first 3 months, the infection rate had dropped 66% in their hospitals. In the first 18 months, the hospitals had saved $175 million in expenses and over 1,500 lives. Boeing, the aircraft carrier manufacturer, has developed many checklists that are often used in aviation. Pilots have what are considered normal checklists for vital operations like takeoff and landing, an emergency checklist for a wide range of in-flight variances and unexpected occasions. In surgery, something like simply forgetting to wash your hands could cause potentially life-threatening infections. During the landing process, there are a number of things that, if forgotten, could have catastrophic repercussions. A checklist makes seemingly small but vital details like these impossible to miss. There are 3 steps that Gawande outlines as the basis for creating an effective checklist. Before you even begin to design your checklist, the author lists a few steps that you should take to get the best start possible. 1. Set clear objectives. 2. Define a pause point to initiate the checklist. Choose do, confirm, or redo, and specify the person responsible for initiating the checklist. The objectives are the same thing as goals. These will help you decide what is important to have on your checklist. The pause point is the event that triggers the list. For the pilot, it might be starting the plane's engines, where for the surgeon, it might be once the anesthesia has been administered. Do confirm lists allow the person to do the task, then verbally announce that it is done. Redo, on the other hand, requires someone to read the list, then do the task. And finally, who's responsible? Does the pilot or the co-pilot do the checklist? Does the surgeon or one of the assistants? Now that the framework is in place, let's take time to develop your checklist. Keep it between 5 and 9 items. Focus on vital items. If overlooked, these things can cause major errors. Use simple words and language. 1 page only. Keep the design simple. And use clear, clean sans serif font with correct capitalization and punctuation. The goal with your checklist is to make a short, quick list of vital tasks. If your checklist has 100 different things on it, then the list quickly becomes burdensome and loses its worth. You will either spend a significant amount of time on it or simply skip it since it's such a hassle. Now that you have your checklist, it's time to test it. You want to take any new checklist out for a trial run before using it in a real-life situation. Imagine a pilot or a surgeon using a brand new checklist in the field. I wouldn't want to be on that flight or under that knife. Here are a few steps the author recommends for these test runs. Get practice and then real-world feedback. Ensure it fits the workflow and detects errors in real time. Time the workflow. Revise and retest. And then schedule periodic reviews to ensure accuracy over time. Don't expect your checklist to be perfect right off the bat. Like many things, they can evolve and improve over time. I was so inspired after reading this book that I developed checklists for several common work tasks, including producing videos. I have one checklist for video ideas, what I've already done, and the type of video that I need to do. I have another checklist that I perform once my voiceover is recorded to make sure that my audio sounds as good as possible. I have a third checklist for combining my video, script, and audio together seamlessly. And finally, a checklist to make sure everything is done correctly on YouTube before I hit the publish button. Remember, under conditions of complexity, not only are checklists a help, they are required for success. When I first read this book, it was off of a recommendation, and I was doubtful that I could learn anything about a simple checklist. Boy, was I wrong. The stories and applications of different checklists that are used as examples in the book help you to realize how often professions use these documents and give you ideas for how you yourself can use them. Do you have a book, saying, or idea that you'd like to see us make a video of? Leave your recommendations in the comments section down below, and we'll do our best to make your suggestions into an animation. And if you haven't already, please hit that thumbs up button to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It would be greatly appreciated.